Hey, Bekka here. I want to welcome you to the Keepin It Rural Network and our new series, What a Hoot. Agricultural education is the foundation of making sure our food supply is both secure and prosperous. Totally in line with that, it is my love and mission to help youth find their voice and prep them for leadership within and for rural America. Seriously, this passion runs deep, and I am just one of 11,000 egg teachers in our nation. This series was specifically designed to put a microscope on agricultural education from coast to coast. So let's uproot this Minnesota girl because we are headed to the Lone Star State with this first episode. When I think about Texas egg programs, I have to pinch myself that this is actually a real thing because it seems very foreign from where we're at in Minnesota here. This conversation is not just a dream. And here to talk about his reality today is Sid Morris, who is an egg teacher and FFA advisor at Farwell High School in Texas. So, Sid, let's get things started. How the heck are ya?
Doing good. A little hot down here in Texas this morning.
What is the
Uh,
temperature there?
Today, so far, we're low 80s, but it's supposed to be close to 100. But I don't think we're going to break 100 like we have all week.
I will stop complaining about 90. So,
Yes, more.
what is happening in Farwell this week?
Well, our state FFA convention is in July. And so we spend several weeks planning and making sure all the kids are on board and know our departure times. And we always try and have a t-shirt made and different things like that. So we're getting ready for that. We just got back from what we call an Area 1 leadership camp. Texas has 12 areas and our area puts on one for, kind of our cream kids, our officer type kids. And we spent 3 days doing that in Clarence, Texas, and just kind of get those kiddos fired up and ready to take it back to the chapter.
What age group are those ones?
That age group, I took incoming seniors this time is what I did. So
Fun, gear them up for the year.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And it's all right. I took 5 young ladies this time. And a year ago, I took 5 young men. It kind of all rotates on which group it is.
It all evens out though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you notice that a lot of your membership is heavier on the female side, just like our Minnesota membership, or is it pretty even down there?
The female membership is on the rise.
Yeah.
We're seeing a huge increase. I really can't put my finger on it necessarily, but I know the young ladies are really just stepping in. And when you talk about leadership, there's a lot of those young ladies that jump on board, and some of the boys get passed up sometimes.
Yeah, my officer team this year, I was doing an SAE visit last night out at his farm, and he's one of 2 boys on my officer team. And so his dad and I had a conversation last night about how the boys are really going to have to step up and learn to say no at times to all 8 of the other females that they're working with.
That's right.
Oh, man. So you said you have state convention coming up in July here. What is it like to
Yes.
have a state convention outside of the normal school year?
It's nice. A lot of ag teachers in Texas, they say their vacation time evolves around going on a state convention with their family. And then we have an ag teachers conference in August. And that's pretty much been their vacation for however many years they've taught. It's not a vacation by no means, but it is nice in relation to the administration. Is not really honest as much about being gone and missing school. And you get to take your cream kids, the kiddos that put a lot of work in during the year. And so it gives us time to kind of siphon through that, find that group of kids that would really enjoy it. So
Yeah. When did you guys get done with school for the year?
we finished May the 26th was
Okay.
our last day.
Yeah.
Some of the schools here, I don't know about you guys, but some of them have been graduating a week earlier into May. And that has its pros and cons too. So
For sure. It's becoming more of a trend to have more of that college schedule through and through, it seems.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And do you find yourself doing a lot of hours of CDE practices and LDE practices in the summer just to keep up with those kids? Or how does that look for when it's not during the school day anymore?
We do not do any of the CDE stuff in the summertime. There are some camps that some of the kids will go to, like a livestock camp or a meats camp or something. But the CDEs, that's pretty much, we do all those in the spring. I can't remember how different we are, but I know even in New Mexico, right here, our neighbors, our schedules are so much different. We all have the same purpose, get to the same ending point, but while they're doing one thing, we're doing another. We go across right there, my neighbors in Texaco. We will go over and help one another at times and fundraise together, but they're always on a whole different page during the year than we are. And our summer CD schedule is kind of really non-existent unless a kid's doing it on his own.
I mean, that's a relief from the egg ed perspective or the teacher's standpoint.
Yes, absolutely. Our biggest summer thing is just livestock projects, I guess, for the SAE end of it is kind of our keeps us the busiest. Our state speaking development contest is at our state contest and agri-science fair stuff. Other than that, we have our own individual state contest at different times of the year.
Awesome. That's something that I think a lot of states are looking at doing and kind of transitioning to having those different events. And it's easy to see why once you start to describe it like that.
Yes, man. We don't have to get everybody in every contest ready all just in one day or one week.
You don't have to coach 20 teams at the same time.
Now we do have a bunch of teams we do, but we get that separate all that out. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for
Yeah.
you guys.
How about yourself?
In Minnesota here, we have a convention in April, and that has all of the contests at once. So CDEs, the speaking contests, all of it happens right there. The only thing that doesn't is agri-science fair and a couple other newer CDEs like food science and egg communications. Those ones happen prior to convention just for spacing purposes. But all of the awards are handed out there. And so it's a really fast turnaround. So yes,
Wow.
we are the ones training the teams right before all of them at once. It's fun. There's an element of surprise, but it's like all of your classes know, okay, it's state convention season. We're not doing much for this week.
And y'all's, when is your state convention?
It is usually the third or fourth weekend in April.
Okay.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
You spend all the time getting those, besides just teaching your class and keeping your program going, you do all of those teams,
Oh, yeah.
LDE, 3D, everything.
Yes. Yes, sir. There's usually a time in May where my body just says, hey, you're done now. We're,
That's it. Yes,
yep,
ma'am.
that's it.
I can see it.
I usually tell kids, I said, the first week in June, if I do not respond to you, that's why. Don't be surprised.
Sometimes you got to just be hard to find.
Right. Yeah. And that's an okay thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Taken me a couple of years to realize that, but it's been very beneficial. Yep.
Yes, that is correct. You'll have a little better longevity if you can get a little bit of hideaway.
Yeah. It's really funny when you teach something like agriculture and the other teachers come up to you and they say, hey, I'm worried about you. You're doing a lot. Well, it's hard to know if I'm doing a lot or if this is just what's expected. It just
That's right.
comes with the territory. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. But you mentioned that egg ed is really not a one size fits all scenario, even across the border in New Mexico. Texas and other southern states have a unique definition of egg ed, specifically when it comes to livestock. And this is something that has blown my mind since I was a little kid. But walk us through what egg ed looks like to you in terms of your day to day. Are you at school or are you at a livestock show? What does that look like?
I need to be at school because I always hate missing those kids that are my kids don't do anything but come to ag class, and you hate to miss that group of kids that look forward to seeing you as well or having that interaction. But in the springs, well, I say the spring semester starting in January, we we do a lot of stock show. It's kind of gotten to where in Texas, it's kind of an expectation from the community. And the stock show thing is blown up here. And it's got its pros and it's got its cons. Not always it's just outstanding, but it's such a big thing. We will spend January at local shows, local community stock shows and county stock shows. And then in our first major, what we call major stock show, be in Fort Worth. This past year, that was very miserably cold because they had an ice storm come in and
What is miserably cold?
miserably cold. Probably, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir in this regard. But
I'm not
us
going to
here-
judge. I just have to ask.
For us here, it took us 18 hours to get from here on a 5-hour trip because of roads and ice, different things. And it just was just for us miserably cold and icy. But you guys would probably have your own de-icers on your vehicles. I don't know. They clear the highway.
Practically.
Go.
And I totally feel for you guys. I have a friend that teaches in Tennessee, and he said, we can't use any salt or anything like that. So when it's icy, it really is a problem.
Right. And so anyway, we do Fort Worth in early February. Then there's several of them that are on top of one another, San Angelo, San Antonio, and then we finish up in our spring break, spend our spring break in Houston, right there about the third week of March. And then that's when our CDE season starts and all the judging contests and different things. We start right there. And then that late April, early May, and we go right into it. And so
Man, never catch a break, right?
it's a challenge, but at the same time, if we're not busy, we're starting to wonder, what are we doing wrong? Or
Oh, for sure.
it kind of becomes a norm. Sure does.
Hmm. You get done with one thing, you just move on to the next. And if you get too much of a break,
Yes, ma'am. You kind of try to be preparing the next thing while you're finishing another, but it's not always that easy.
yeah. Do you have multiple people that teach with you in Farwell?
I have a teaching partner. They
Okay.
uh, about 6, 7 years ago, they felt the need to add one to us, and so that's been a great help. I have not had a bad partner yet, and so I'm very thankful for that.
That makes a big difference.
Yes, ma'am. It does.
So when you talk about the livestock shows that you're going on, how often are you at those throughout the year? Is it an every other week thing? Are you only gone for a couple of days? And how does that work with your admin?
Our administration is pretty good with it. One of the expectations, they want our kids to keep their grades up, keep their work caught up, of course. And for the most part, those kiddos that are raising animals, part of the program, most of the time, they're really good at multitasking anyway, getting up and feeding and probably playing basketball or, so they're pretty good at all that. Well, they support us pretty good. They don't always understand what we do. That's common. You'd think that living in Texas, everybody knows livestock and understands all of it. Even here, there's a lot of uneducated, and so we do our best to make sure they kind of know what we're doing and communicate with them well.
Mhm.
But it's usually a week at a time when we're gone. Those shows will last 2, 3 weeks, but we do our best to kind of alternate. My teaching partner in the past has gone with, say, the market barrows, and I'll bring the steers, things like that.
So it's pretty normal for both of you to be gone at the same time.
Yes, ma'am. And it used
That's
to
pretty
not
cool.
be as difficult. We've got a substitute shortage, probably like everyone else. It becomes more of a challenge. And so we do our best to not be gone very much. And I like being home. I like being in the classroom. So,
That's good. It's good to hear that even in Texas, you like being home and because you hear about that a lot. And I'll see other egg teachers at National Convention and their entire family will be with them. Like you said, it's kind of their vacation.
yes, ma'am. And I've done my best to try and keep my family involved in this. I've got 3 sons, and they have grown up in it. We used to push them in strollers at the shows or at the conventions, and now they've grown up to where they know everybody and they're involved now. I just graduated my oldest, and he's having a hard time not putting that jacket on again. And so,
Oh, yeah.
yes. And so, anyway, it's a family affair and a very supportive wife. She does a great job being okay with me being gone. And so that helps a lot too.
No, that's fantastic. You talk about the livestock component impacting quite a few of your students, but is it a requirement for any of your kids to do that? Is it part of the grade?
Oh, ma'am. I encourage them all to have an essay of something, of course, but the livestock thing, I encourage them to try and step out into something they don't understand. I really firmly believe that we can use an animal or something to reach kids. And if we will keep the stock show or the animal project in perspective, like make it all about trying to win and worry about the color of the ribbon, I really have seen, and I know you have too, the positive effects that just getting out, tending to that animal, uh, what is positive effect it has on the kid, on the student. And that is one of the things I struggle with. I encourage the families to not necessarily worry about that color of the ribbon, but here in Texas, the money and stuff so big that gee whiz, we lose perspective real quick.
Oh, yeah. 100%. You start thinking about the money that's invested in the equipment and the livestock themselves and the feed, and
Yes, ma'am.
there's a lot that goes into it. Does
Yes.
Farwell have a school barn, or how common is that around you?
Most of the schools where we're at have a facility to help kids raise a project. Yes, ma'am. We have an ag farm. There's not any farming necessarily goes on. It's just some livestock barns. Not the greatest facilities. We're not as high tech as a lot of provides a place and an opportunity for kids to raise a pig or a lamb or a steer. Market animals most of the time is kind of what we gear towards.
And
Uh,
is that something like a kid that lives in town that couldn't do that otherwise? Can they find
Absolutely.
support to purchase that animal?
Yes, ma'am. I have community members approach me every year. Hey, if there's a kid needs a pig, don't let them do without. And our farm service agency, the FSA here, has a rural youth loan that I've had some students take advantage of. Several years ago, I had some young ladies decide they come in and live in town and we want to show a steer. And so we're not going to dive off into that one without some
I was gonna
parental.
say pick the big one right away, huh?
Yeah, they come in and I make the parents come in. We visit about it. So there's a lot to this. Parents, we'll be there. We'll make sure it happens. And it is absolutely amazing to watch these young ladies. They dove in and they got drugged. They got kicked by the calf in the training process. And then in the all end of it, it was outstanding. And when I see them or occasionally during the stock show season, they'll still text me from college or wherever they're at and just, oh, I missed this. I would sure like to do it one more time.
For sure. And that's when you know you did your job, right?
We hope so. We hope the experience is good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
In Minnesota, I think there might be a handful of schools that had or still have school farms of some sort, and hardly any of them include livestock
Right.
to this day. Greenhouses are very common where we're at. There's other facilities that are becoming more common. They're working on a meat processing facility grant right now. And so we're hoping that brings in a lot more of that livestock component for sure in that meat cutting perspective. But from what you've seen, whether a kid has that show barn to work with or a greenhouse or honestly, not much at all besides the classroom that they're working with for egg ed. How do you think and how have you seen that egg ed is providing the same experience for every student?
There's just so much opportunity. It's very diverse. I think just if we do our jobs right from the moment they walk in our classroom, we have a chance to be an influence. And if we have no tools to work with, we still have opportunities to reach out. I think it's a condition of our heart. We have to have a heart for each kid to begin with. And then hopefully the tools can be provided. And I tell all of them, you may not all want an animal or you may not all want to be on a speaking team or anything like that, but let's dive in. Let's find something that fits. And I want them to face fears a little bit and step out and learn to face Goliath head on. I firmly believe that every kid, if they will venture out there and just try and give it a positive chance, not show something negative or anything, that every kid is rewarded in some regard and something they carry with them for years. Yeah, not always do we have the greatest facilities, and I have not always had the greatest facilities in those little schools with not much and have to dig around to find a pair of pliers that weren't broken or stolen in the shop. But I think the ag education tool in itself is just something that is so unique for us, and we have a great tool bag of just opportunity for each student.
Beautifully said. We
Thank
should
you.
put that in a dictionary.
Thanks. Oh,
I think we should dive into your experience teaching.
okay.
That, like I alluded to in the introduction, folks, there's 25 years of teaching experience here with Sid. So I want to hear about the changes that you've seen that have impacted your profession. I want to hear all about you, your experience at Farwell. Just give us it all.
I wasn't going to be a teacher. I was going through the ag education program there at Texas Tech, and I wanted to be a rodeo star. And
Yes.
it was one of those passions I had. And I can remember one of my professors talking about, hey, when you guys go teach, and I said, hey, yeah, I won't let you know right now. I'm not going to teach. I'm just getting my degree. But it kind of started like that. I was actually at the George Strait team roping in Kingsville. And the guy I did my student teaching under Mr. Waller. He had called my parents. We didn't have cell phones back then or anything, but he had called my parents. He said, I'd try and get a hold of Sid. And so I check in from the George Strait team roping, and my dad says, hey, you got a call from Mr. Waller. Okay. And And I call him from there on a payphone. And he says, "Hey, you've got a job interview in Idlewild, Texas." And I said, "Holy cow, I can't go do that. There's no way I can't do that. I'm not prepared." And I did. I wasn't planning on teaching, but I had a great experience with him and Mr. Patterson in Slayton, Texas, where I student taught. And those guys did a tremendous job of kind of putting a passion for it in me. And so anyway, I called him. He said, "You got a job here?" I said, "I'm not going to teach, Mr. Walter. I'm just roping and doing this stuff." And he said, "Hey, I'm just going to tell you, you will be there and you will do them a good job and you'll take that job." One of them old school mentalities.
Oh,
And,
yeah. You're gonna do what I
yeah,
say.
that's it.
I know what's best for you.
Yeah, exactly. And so the rest is history. I took the job and I taught with a guy named Scott Burris. He is now an ag ed professor at Texas Tech, Dr. Scott Burris. And so that's kind of neat to watch his path unfold too. He does a tremendous job up there. And so I got to teach with him. It was outstanding experience. He was extremely good at the classroom teaching, and I learned a lot from that. I knew nothing. I had stock showed a little bit as a kid. I didn't know anything about any of that. So me and a lot of kids, we learned a lot of things together. We didn't even have good sheep shearing equipment, different things on those kids expecting you to know everything. And so I tell a lot of those kids I run into, they're grown ups and have their own families and things now, but I usually apologize to them from the early years. It was such a blur. I didn't know what I was doing, but
Well, and you were trying to learn so much so fast.
trying to learn. And I know got to put the right people in our path, and it makes it pretty amazing that he always provides a way. And so
Yeah.
he's put the right people in my life. And so anyway, I taught in Idlewood, and I had a chance to move over to Slayton where I student taught a couple of years. And I grew up in Muleshoe, Texas, and they were needing an ag teacher. The one that had been there for a long time, retired. They called, and I kind of fought it, didn't want to move back towards the house. I'm glad I did because that's where I met my wife, and I taught Muleshoe for 6 years. And then I spent a 8-year stint in Last Buddy, Texas, and then had opportunity to come over to Farwell. So we kind of started with not a whole lot. In Farwell, they were kind of talking about closing the program down.
So you were the saving grace, the one that's like, okay, make this work or else.
A lot of people, older ag teachers, like, why in the world are you going over there? And I didn't go over there to be the hero. I just seen an opportunity. And Mr. Patterson, that I student taught under, was the principal there at the time. And he said, "I need you to come over here, and I think we can get this done." And I'm one of those guys, I don't like to fail very much. And I know the value. It doesn't matter what community is, they need an ag education program in their schools. I think it is one of the most valuable tools.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because we are educators. I really think they need that in what we have.
Yeah.
So anyway, it it didn't start off too smooth. Of course, it was a lot of challenges, and once you kind of get things rolling in your regime, I guess takes about 3 or 4 years, start seeing a little progress. And
Amen to that.
yes, if you can find just a few kids to buy in, and then it just became contagious. And before you knew it, even the community members kind of noticing that kids were being successful in the
Yeah.
classroom, outside of it, and even with scholarship and even career paths.
How is your community involved in your programs?
So, like I said, to start off, it wasn't that good. Not anything against the community. They just didn't have anything to go on.
Yeah.
And one of the neatest things I heard, a guy named Aaron Alejandro, he was a state FFA officer years and years ago when I was in high school. And he is our executive director of our FFA Foundation here in Texas. And I sat and listened to him talk at some of our meetings. He explained that the only thing that the community where you live is people are going to know about the FFA is from your local chapter.
Yeah.
We're not going to know national or state type stuff. And so that resonated with me. So I hung out with these kids. The only thing people are going to understand about FFA is how they see you driving in a store parking lot, how you conduct yourself, and how you are in the other classrooms. And so anyway, we just started building on that kind of a foundation, and the community has stepped up. They are phenomenal. We even have a good fundraiser to kind of help our program. We have a fundraiser with Texaco, New Mexico, right across railroad tracks there and have a tremendous chapter over there. And the support from both communities is what makes us have a little special something.
Yeah. I think that's the best advice I got from my senior mentor when I started in ag ed. He had retired and been retired for 10 plus years already. And he said to me, he said, you know what? It's nice to have national teams. It's nice to have state winning teams. Great to have state officers. But it's even better to have a community that knows you're there and knows you care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's important to us. And I want our students conduct themselves in the hallway at a high
Mhm.
level. I mean, we talk about providing an opportunity to improve the young people.
Yeah. And it sounds like you do that in every opportunity. Is it right that you have students shake your hands when they come into your classroom every day?
It didn't start off just perfect. You always have a few that are like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it becomes contagious. And even the people that bring our gases for our shop and things, they're like, can I just hang out a little longer? I like watching. Because even the kids that kind of stereotypically look like they might want to shoot you or stab you, before they leave the class, they will come by and shake their hand and even shake the salesman hand or whoever's visiting for the morning. I think that's important. Here we have a lot of feed yards. And we do a lot of livestock stuff. Just that's what our economy is. I spend a lot of time in a feed yard, and you can learn a lot about a sick calf by watching how they walk in, how they walk, and how they look in their eyes. You can kind of read. You can read the animal, and I try to read the kid. Come in and just know what kind of day they're having. Once you get to know them, it doesn't take long to know kind of off or
Yeah.
something. So need to be checked on.
Yeah. So
Build that
true.
relationship. Yes, ma'am.
And such a great comparison. Sick
Yes, ma'am.
calf, high schooler. Yep. That checks out.
I had a teaching partner. My first teaching partner, actually, a guy named James Graves. He's a great young man. And in his interview, he said something that stuck with me is the kids I don't think they're going to care what we know until they know we care. And that stuck with me. And so I still use that.
Ugh. That's very evident that you care about it from wanting to be a rodeo star to just you talking about your program. It's phenomenal. So I think I'm going to come down when Grace goes to school down there. I'm going to come down with Grace.
We are not perfect by no means, but use the word grace. God has definitely used some grace on us down here too.
So give us the current stats on Farwell. What does your egg program look like now? What kind of classes are you teaching? How many kids are you seeing? Are you affiliated?
We are not affiliated. I'm one of those guys that I fought that affiliation thing when it was coming about.
Me too.
I think it's got its pros and cons for sure, and I can see the understanding of it. I probably should affiliate. It would benefit probably a little bit, but I'm still a little bit stubborn in that. We see approximately between me and my partner, we'll see approximately 150, 160 kids a day. We started a seventh and eighth grade program just kind of to get them the opportunity to come into our building and just start a small foundation. And I can remember my administration, what do you got to teach seventh graders? How to come in and sit down, pay attention.
The skills that they lost during COVID.
Yes, absolutely. And to the difference between this is a screw and this is a nail, and this is
Yeah.
a cow and this is a pig. And no, not all bulls have horns and things like
Yeah.
that. As a foundation, I mean, we have a lot of fun just trying to build a little confidence. And by the time they're eighth graders, we've started getting to use them a little bit in the leadership contest. We stole from New Mexico. We added a opening ceremonies contest. We have fun with that with them. Let them put on official dress for the first time.
Ah.
Then we teach principles of ag, the freshman stuff with our ninth graders. I still use my green hands in a ninth grade, and we do a lot of animal science pathway, career pathway, and livestock production, equine science, small animal management, and we have shop. We do a lot of the ag mechanic shop program, a lot of welding. I do more of a cowboy type shop where I just teach them how to fix stuff and what you're going to see on a daily basis and build hay racks and things. But my new teaching partner is a phenomenal welding kid too. Plus he has the other things. I call him a kid. He's 25 or 6. He's still a kid to me, but he's got a mustache so he don't look as old or as young now. And so
That helps because I'm mistaken
yeah,
for students all the time. A mustache would
that's
help
it.
me out.
I didn't have one. I couldn't grow one. I needed one because the salesman, when I started, would come in and ask for the ag teacher, where's the ag teacher? But anyway,
Yep.
that's kind of the daily routine. We have, I think, 114 members, if I remember the roster correctly. It's been a while since I filled that out, but and we have a pretty diverse population. Male to female is probably about 50-50, but I'm going to say this young female FFA members have kind of stepped up and they're valuable to our program. I do know that. We
Yeah.
use them a lot.
And that's huge. It's cool that you give them that opportunity. And even though you're not affiliated, it sounds like you're giving every one of your students, regardless of if they're super involved in FFA, you're giving them that leadership experience.
Yes, ma'am, we sure want to. I tell them we're going to provide opportunity, and what you do with that opportunity is up to you. There's a little quote I heard several years ago that we oftentimes we will miss opportunity because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. And today's teenager, they don't quite understand that, but we want to encourage them to develop a work ethic because if they can do that, I think today's society, they're going to have a tool that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you talk about the opening ceremonies, competition that you do, and the different things that you build in for leadership. How do you get those kids that are just sitting in the corner, not wanting to be there, rather be on their phone? Maybe even some of those troublemakers that are in the counselor office more than not. How do you get them to buy in?
First of all, I guess I'm very thankful for the opportunity I had with those older guys when I student taught. I still have an old school approach, I guess you would say. And I don't feel old school. I feel like there's still a young kid in there. But he's talking about playing on their phones. I do not allow phones in my building. I mean,
Okay.
they can have them in their backpack, but absolutely no phone. And the main reason is that is as those things start becoming popular. And when I moved to Farwell, there was not a huge policy on that, and I'd be trying to talk and just start a foundation with the kids, and they'd be on them things, and they wouldn't even look up at me at times, and I just kinda start putting my foot down and immediately and you have to have different approaches. I don't know the creative response, but I think that cell phone, it's just a distraction, and so anyway, I no cell phones for me, and, so at that point I don't know. I just want to build a relationship with every student and let them know that there's opportunity. And we do have a really high success rate of involvement, I guess, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy because I have a lot of friends that call and like the eighth graders, we don't really give them an opportunity to not participate, even if they're a real bashful kid sitting in a corner, more of an introvert. You're still going to come over here. Let's do this. I really don't have any like magical answers for it. It's just dive in and we try to have fun with it first before we get competitive. Not every kid goes and competes, of course. We try and turn it into a little contest where, kids want to beat each other,
Oh,
their
yeah.
fellow classmates. And so we kind of start with
Especially if
that.
there's a prize at the end for them.
And if you tell them they might get to miss a little bit of school or a prize at the end, like you're talking about a pizza party or cold floats or
They're
something,
all
I
in
mean,
on that.
we're all in on that. Yes, ma'am.
So it said there's one special connection that I know that in Texas, they truly value the connection they have with colleges. And
Yes, ma'am.
I've heard that you work very closely with, is it Texas Tech or Texas A&M?
Texas Tech and West Texas A&M
Okay.
and Canyon. Yes, ma'am.
What does that connection look like?
Really, you have to give most of the credit to the instructors at the university because they will reach out to us probably more than we do them. They send students to us just to come talk to our kids earlier in the semester, usually in the fall. They'll just kind of talk to them, not necessarily about coming to their college, but what are you going to do? What's your future look like? And so they send their kids that are not much older than ours with a little bit of fire and tenacity to them. And so then that kind of starts a little spark. And then they provide opportunities for us to do a lot of our contests, things, camps, things are held at those universities.
Mhm.
And they probably will tell you they're doing it for more of a selfish reason to get students on their campus to help as a drawing card. But what they don't realize is how much it benefits all of us. It benefits
Yeah.
us, the ag teachers, very well, a good facility, and somebody really putting effort in. So I think we all benefit from it, but that relationship that we've built, and they have just such good guys, young ladies that are there at the university. When you get into the ag departments at Texas Tech or A&M or any of them, They're just good folks, people that are super educated, and they really do care about our kids and our future of our agriculture. That helps a lot.
It does, especially when those students that come to visit yours were in those shoes at one point. I think that makes a big
Absolutely.
difference too. Yeah.
That's it.
And they understand better than us old teachers do.
That's right.
No, that's pretty cool. And there's a lot of potential there within any college or university that if we just tap into that, we're going to find a lot of kids that a few years before that, they were sitting right where we wanted them to. And so if we can build that, there's a lot of support that could be built for ag programs all over the nation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Do you guys have that kind of relationship with one of them up there or a couple?
Yeah, we do. And so we're currently working on building a couple within our own state here, but we do have, I mean, there's neighboring states that have regions come out because we're, instead of areas or districts, we have regions in Minnesota. And so we go to South Dakota for our region dairy cattle and general livestock judging contest. Some schools will go to River Falls in Wisconsin. So we do hop across the border a little bit. We utilize our own. There's a lot of local colleges and smaller schools that will hold our region leadership days at, or we'll do trainings for ag teachers there. So we try to use them as much as possible. It helps that we have our farm business management instructors and our college instructors involved with our ag teachers every year too.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're valuable tools. Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, the network is huge. Got to keep everyone together. Now, I called myself old a little bit ago, but I am the same age as your incoming teacher that you have. So we definitely have two opposite ends of the spectrum here, Sid. But I will be the first to admit that burnout is a real thing and that it's kind of
Yes, ma'am.
scary to think about. I really want to tap into your experience, whether it's a personal experience with burnout or from a supporting role, and any advice you would have related to it.
I do know it is a real thing. Uh, no matter how passionate you are for the industry, some of it is self-inflicted. I think one of the things, all of us ag folks, our parents, and I blame my parents. Sometimes my dad, he'll be like, "Hey, man, you need to kind of slow down a little bit. You need to. You're giving that school way more than they're paying you for." And I said, "Dad, that's yours and mom's fault."
I've told my parents that too. I said, "Who taught me to work this hard?"
Yeah, I mean, they tell us, they hound us, you do a good job. If you sign up for it, you do a good job. That's kind of where the burnout starts is we just have that work ethic, or the majority does. And then burnout can come from just like for me personally, those first few years, I didn't have a clue why I was doing ag teaching.
Yeah.
I can remember I did probably throw up a little tiny prayer of God, put me where you want me here. Help me find a way or
And he
use me to,
did.
and he did, but I couldn't understand that at the time. And then I do remember when I kind of started seeing a little bit of a light go off of, man, that kid looks forward to me coming every day. But when you get pretty passionate about the results and what you're trying to do, whether a kid wants to be there or not, you give more than they do at times,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the burnout can come from that. And then you can also get burnt just from being pretty passionate and just go through an experience with a bad parent or something like that. That causes a lot of burnout. And as crazy it is I never get up. I've never one time got up in the morning to go to work and want to cause a student or a parent or somebody to have a bad day. Never, not
Yeah.
one time. But yet, that's how people will see it at times. And I see a lot of my cohorts, ag teachers around this area and things that they work just as hard as I do. Some of them harder or just as passionate, but they'll go through an experience. It's just hard on their heart, on their family and everything else, just because somebody gets mad over not winning with a show pig. That stuff can cause a burnout so bad. If I get on to a student about their cell phone or I'm very thankful right here in rural West Texas. We have our administration still has a shaving policy. The young men have to shave. They have to keep their hair off of their collar. Isn't that crazy? In a
That's
crazy world we
wild.
live in, that's amazing. And so,
I don't think we could do that if we wanted to at our school.
really?
Yeah, no, Minnesota's totally different that way.
Yeah. And so I'm still able to keep young men and young ladies accountable at times. I'm very thankful for that. But at the same time, didn't always come with a pat on the back the kids' home life. And so
Right.
that's another burnout issue there. And then we get competitive and we start winning or liking the win, or you like to see kids having success. And we go so hard at it, we burn out also. So there's so many factors. And then when you don't have an administration that will support you or a community that is involved in your program, and you just work like you're spinning your tires in the mud, that also can sure cause burnout. So there's so many factors there. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. And from your experience, Sid, is there anything that's helped you work through that burnout?
Yeah, family,
Mhm.
s- mentors. My wife is really good about. Sometimes I try not to bring it home, but if there's something bugging me, she'll sit and listen. And
Yeah.
then most of the time she'll remind me it's not as big as I think it is. That mountain's not that big. And, I'm very fortunate. My parents don't live far away. We're all still pretty close. That's one of the reasons we stay out here in West Texas is
Mhm.
good, close family ties. I've got some older men that's been in the profession. Most of them are retired that I can call and vent a little bit. Most of them just chuckle.
Oh, yeah. And then you realize it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, there was a guy that I sure thought a lot of. We were validating steers during the summer stuff, and had a parent just pull up in a bad mood, and he kind of chewed on all of the ag teachers from our county there. And anyway, he leaves. I asked Mr. Smith. He'd been teaching a while. I said, Mr. Smith, what year does it kind of start leveling out? Because it just sometimes it's just a blur. It's just tough around here. And he said,
Right?
let's see, a year third. Let's see, I'm fixing to start. I'm on just finished 33. Maybe I think it'll be year 34. It must be year 34 because I hadn't experienced it either. We take it one day at a time. I think that's what I like
Yeah.
about the job is every day is, and so
Mhm. And that might be part of the relief when we think about the burnout too, is
that's right.
there's always another day.
Yes, ma'am. And the reward is so much better than the risk to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
No, that's great advice. Thank you, Sid. I know that's not a fun topic to talk about, but it's probably the most important in our industry right now.
Yes, ma'am. I believe so. And a lot of times you come home and do that, and the car has a flat. The money does not go with it if you really get down to it. But we don't do it for the money. We know that.
Yeah,
But it becomes more of a lifestyle and just something that we like to do.
for sure. Which makes it hard not to take home, but you
Yes,
really got to work on that.
that's right.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. That's why
Yep.
I'm sitting on my back patio this morning enjoying a little cool before it gets hot.
Good for you. And cool in
Yeah.
your area is probably like 80 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, it's not cool, but it is for us. Got a little breeze.
Oh my goodness. I would be in shorts and a tank top if I was that. Nope, not happening. Oh my goodness. Sid, I am very curious because it sounds like you guys have your own building as well.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay. And this brings in a whole different level of you are the supervisor of that building then, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you think about your general role as an egg teacher. What is one thing that you do that no other teacher in the school would consider their responsibility?
Uh, we do a lot. We'll plunge our own toilets. We do a lot of stuff like that. Most of the time, we try and I tell my principal, I would like for them to not have to come out there and babysit us, and I don't want to be a nuisance to the maintenance people. And
For
so
sure.
we try and do a lot of that kind of stuff. We try to handle our own discipline if we can
Mhm.
without having to send them. If they get to the higher ranks, it's a pretty big deal. And I know my principal has to deal with some teachers send a student in every classroom. I don't know that I do anything that our other teachers wouldn't do. Besides, we just try and do the little things and keep it to ourselves out there. So
Yeah. Which is a pretty unique thing. A lot of
yes,
egg programs have their own hallway, but to have a whole separate building, that's fun.
and I'm very fortunate. What I didn't realize is when they decided to build us that building away from the school, it's just probably 40 or 50 feet across from the other building. Really, there was a lot of teachers that had a lot of input in that. Wasn't necessarily because they wanted us to have something nice, but they wanted us away with because of the smells and the noises.
Ah, I was just gonna say maybe they thought you smelled bad, but literally that was it.
Yeah, I mean, besides the fact that some of them, if we do go out to the ag farm and the kid step in something or whatever, they make them take their shoes off at the door, and stuff. It's pretty
Right.
funny. The welding smoke would go up and down the hallway, and they
The
didn't like
gas from
that.
the engines. Yep.
Yes, and they now, can y'all not do that? We're building. We're like, when are we going to do this? And so there was a lot of other teachers. Can we get those guys away from our building? And that was official.
Oh man. And you never said thank you more than that.
Oh, I tell them all the time, thank y'all for not
Complaining.
liking the noises and the smells.
Oh
But I
yeah.
mean, our staff is great and very supportive. We got a lot of teachers that still help input on speaking contests, and I
Oh
have them
yeah.
help with a lot of that.
But from the day-to-day perspective, totally different than an English class.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
their
Well,
minds are blown.
I don't think I could do what they do, teach just plain math or English
Uh-uh.
and not lose my sanity. We get to use so many different tools
Yeah.
and have a different atmosphere, and so I'm thankful for that. I wouldn't be able to do it
Yeah.
any other way.
I hang out with our Spanish teacher quite a bit, and she talks about having the same class 5 times in a day. I couldn't
Right.
imagine teaching the same thing 5 times in a row.
Yes,
Woo!
ma'am.
Nope, we can be grateful for that one.
That's right.
I know we've already been laughing, but we don't call this What a Hoot for nothing. And so, one of the things that I'm most excited for in this series is to collect some of those blooper moments or those funny things that have happened over the years. What are some of the craziest bloopers that you've seen, Sid, from the classroom to the show ring?
Oh my goodness. That's a it's a daily thing, like just
Right?
silly stuff too. One that pops in my mind, and we were in a motel room this week, with my kids, and you see the little sprinkler spouts hanging from the ceiling in a motel that says, and it has a coat hanger with a slash mark says, "Do not hang right here." Or I'll never forget, a young man had come in and hung his shirt the morning before we were going to go to a show, and it hung his shirt there. And he might have even had me. I probably ironed it for him because he's probably wrinkly. And I was like, "Hey, we're gonna iron that thing." And I remember he had it hanging there, and I can remember it. Hey, don't put that there. But even I didn't really understand why they tell you not to hang those there until that particular morning. He reaches up to jerk that shirt from the hanger, and it popped the sprinkler, and it flooded our room.
Oh my
It
gosh.
flooded our motel room. Okay, that's why they have those there. And he's like, "Oh my," it just made a mess. And so
Right?
we get to explain that. And I've had neat opportunities to just see kids have bloopers in class, and we like to have fun and laugh and cut up. They call me the coffee ninja because they're always taking bets on I'm gonna spill my coffee, and I can almost stand on my head and not spill it for some reason in the
Wow.
morning. Just it's become a habit that I drink coffee in the morning, and they like make a hoot about that. And of course, this past school year, I did it like 2 mornings in a row, spilled it on my shirt completely, and so I think the old age is kicking in where I forget I'm holding it. I guess.
If it makes you feel better, I'm 25 and I spill my coffee every single day.
Do
So,
you really? I embarrass myself every day. I'm pretty good at it.
but we've never been more comfortable in doing so. I think about when you grow up and you never want to embarrass yourself in front of a crowd of people. And then you get in front of a group of students and you just, whatever happens.
If you had told me my job was going to be based around teenagers, when I was a teenager, I didn't like teenagers.
Right?
I was that kid. I didn't even really like being around all of them. I didn't like, and then every day I had to step up in front of them and stand. And it's a good deal, though. I have a blast doing it.
Yeah,
But I am definitely a glutton for punishment every day because they will, if there's a flaw, if your shirt ain't buttoned right, they're going to let you know.
for sure. And that's something they wouldn't do with their English teacher. So,
That's right. That
oh,
is
that's pretty
correct.
cool.
Do you
And
have any funny bloopers?
ooh, man, not necessarily bloopers at this point. I think, yeah, I had a kid call. Now that I think about it, I was going to say I've been asked to prom probably 5 times now.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And I'd be teaching welding, and the kid will come out from his welding booth and he'll have a sign that he just did a really terrible stick weld on. and it just says prom passkey. So
And
there's
I love
those
it.
ones that are good. Moments where I remind myself it's okay if you start to dress like you're older and those types of things. The ones that stand out to me though, I had a kid call 911 from my phone. And it was only him and his buddy in my room at the time. It was a homecoming day or something, maybe the end of the school year. And so that he dialed 911 and then walked out of my room. And I got
Oh
this
my.
phone call on my cell phone from the principal, and he's running. You can hear him panting on the other end.
Oh
It
my
said,
goodness.
Paskey, everyone good? Everyone still have their limbs? What's going on? I said, yeah, what do you mean? Everyone's fine. There's no one in my room right now. And he said, 911 was called from your room. It was my first year teaching. I was like, no, Foss, there's no way.
There's no way.
I was so close to finishing my first year teaching without any hiccups like that. And then boom, last day. Turns out this kid ended up being my state star farmer the next year.
Oh
And
wow.
it's funny to see how those kids grow. And he still calls me quite often and he wants to catch up and he checks in on things. My dad was in the hospital last week and this kid texted me yesterday asking how
Wow.
he's doing. And the bloopers turn out to be those moments that you hold special because of that. But
That's right.
oh, I still get a
God
lot of
will
crap
miss.
from the other staff about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, it is. But when we talk about burnout, like those everyday bloopers, they make a big difference in coming back.
That's right.
Holy moly, I think I could talk to you forever, Sid. I have been dreaming of having livestock involved in my program more heavily. And so I think that these would be fun conversations to continue. But I know that time is hard to come by as an egg teacher. Even though it's summer, we know how that works. So let's
Yeah.
wrap up with a couple of quick questions here for you.
Okay.
Sid, what is your ideal day as an egg teacher?
That's a good one. No problems in the morning. Get up with just everything smooth. And I think getting to school and the coffee tastes just right and get to walk down the hall and visit with some of the other teachers
Mhm.
momentarily and not being in a rush. And then that first period, actually, the ideal situation would be the kids come in and all of them want to be there. First period. And they're all just can't wait to get after it. And every kid have a good home to go to,
Yeah.
and different things. That would be the ideal for me. But we know that's not going to happen. But I absolutely have gotten to where I embrace the challenges that come every day. And I tell you what, I look forward to something new every day is what keeps us going. There's going to be something that even some of the surprises, getting to be with, build relationships with different students that you normally wouldn't. So ideally is a pretty easy, smooth day and get to have a great conversation with one or two kids that maybe need an encouragement or a smile and know everything great at home when you get home.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
that's an ideal work day. Maybe even the perfect idea for a script or something for a contest just pop in your head too. That could be ideal situation.
I like that one. Man, I think I calmed down just you saying that calmed me down about 10 notches. And that would be glorious.
Yeah, it would.
Here I thought you were going to say something like a livestock show, but that makes sense.
Livestock shows for us, they're early mornings and they're late nights. You probably hear this too if you go to, if the ones you go to, the coaches or somebody in the hall, we pick at each other and the coach will say, man, I wish I could go a week vacation like you do in San Antonio for a week.
Mhm.
I heard an old teaching partner tell him one time, oh, yeah, I'll tell you what, you can go with us and I'll pay your way, but you got to sleep when I sleep, eat when I eat, and do what we do. And so you change your mind real quick. But
Yeah.
I love the stock show part of it too, especially the older I've gotten and I understand it better. When I was younger, it was one of those tasks that it was a monster to just try and keep rolling, keep up with. I've learned just take it in stride and not let I can't let it be so big that I dread it. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It can instantly become an anxiety factor really
it
fast.
is. But
Yeah.
that, like you said, you wish you had an opportunity to have more livestock in your program. Seeing what an animal can do for an at-risk student or a kid that don't have a lot. I have walked in an ag farm and seen a young man brushing his pig and just telling him his troubles and talking to him. And knowing the young man, he had a lot of them. And those type of kids, when they give an opportunity, if they really, it's just amazing that those kids probably tend to those animals better than a kid with better fortune. It's
Absolutely.
appears that way for me.
Okay, Sid, we know that we do a lot of things that other teachers don't do, but what is one thing that is above your pay grade? One thing that you do not get paid enough money to deal with?
There's several things pop into mind. First of all,
Is that because we don't get paid very much?
that's part of it. The second part is there's a couple things pop in my mind, and they're probably totally opposite or a little silly. But the first one is to be a junior class sponsor and put on the prom.
Ah,
See, that kind of stuff, that's not why I signed up. And I remember a principal years ago, he pulled a contract out and he said, "You see this little line right here at the bottom that nobody looks at? It says other duties as assigned." you
oh
know, so
no, yep.
those kind of things, I mean, that's just not my cup of tea. And then the other thing is that probably is more reality is dealing with the parents in our program. I don't know what it's like in Minnesota. I don't. I know there's some great people there and great agriculture, but like here, same for us.
Mhm.
But I look forward, and a perfect day for me is just going to school there and working with students. And we have some great parents. I have to make sure I say that before.
Well, and I love their support, but
Yes. Yeah. And we couldn't do it without it. But at the same time, and I wouldn't even say it's helicopter parenting. It would be more of the parents that just try to fix something that should have been fixed years ago, and it's
Mhm.
a home problem, and all we're doing is just trying to be there and help, and all of a sudden we become the problem.
Yeah,
And I think that's causing a lot of the burnout for younger teachers and even older teachers. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
right. I think if I could go back and take any other class in college or have any other class offered for ag ed students, it'd be how do you navigate conversations with parents?
Right.
There's so many great ones, and I
Oh,
appreciate the heck out of them. But you're right, it's a stressful part.
right. I've got some that they come by or they check in every day or two just to say hi, and they're that supportive and appreciative. And
Oh, yeah.
or and I get mad at myself for letting the one or two squeaky wheels affect my day more than I do the positives from the encouragement.
Right.
And I think what it is and I can already tell you're one of those teachers that you're doing it for the kid. And I
Mhm.
get up in the morning, I don't have any kids vendetta on my list.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody, even those. I mean, I've had some kids that were probably full fledged gangsters and things that, or at least they talked a big story. And I still can see them after they're out of school and we still have a relationship.
Right.
Not always a great one, but they still say hi and we speak.
Yeah.
But if you get a parent in there that gets mad or feels like their kid was not treated correctly, then that ruins relationship that sometimes you never get back with the student. So
Yeah.
that's hard. That's the hard part for me. So that I don't think I get paid enough for that. Answer your question. And I don't know what would the pay have to be because
Right. Yeah.
what's funny is every parent will start off a parent conference with, "I don't know how you do what you do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
want your job, but," and here comes the
But
but.
yeah, my kids tell me a lot of times, they said, "Kasky, you're a better counselor than my counselor." And it's funny because there's a lot of things that you hear and see that a lot of other people don't know. So,
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
yep, absolutely. But that, like you said, makes it all part of the job that you enjoy. So,
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
yeah. Sid, this has really been a hoot for real, ironically and literally it has. So thank you for being our first guest on What a Hoot, part of the Keepin' It Rural network. Can't thank you enough for your insight. I know as a younger teacher that your provisions on everything that you've gone through, it just they sit with me, they resonate with me, and there's something that I can apply as I enter into this fourth school year. So thank you for that.
Well, you don't seem like you're that young into it as far as you seem to have a grasp on it. And so I appreciate you having me on. I am honored. I hope that somebody out there that hears this will get past my Texas accent.
I'm just really glad that I didn't adopt your Texas accent during this because I usually do that.
Yeah, You don't want to do that because you guys, y'all sound perfect in your speech. I have to throw this real quick. You bring up Natasha when the first time she came out, or one of the first few times, she said something about, okay, do you guys have an egg farm?
Yes.
And like, yeah, well, we have a chicken plant outside town. They grow eggs. And she goes, what? No, an egg farm. And I go, egg, like an E-double-G.
Right.
And she goes, agriculture. And I go, oh, yeah, okay, you're talking ag. Okay, yeah, we do. We have an ag farm. So we picking each other now.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to lie. I flinched every time I said agriculture on this podcast because I know I say it wrong. When I ran for national office, I remember the other candidates from especially the southern half of the US. They would make
Right.
fun of me for that, and they'd make me say it over and over again until I felt like my tongue was stuck on the top of my mouth.
I think that you handle everything great.
Thank you. And do you know what pop is?
Oh, yeah, we call it Coke here. Everything's a Coke. Doesn't matter what flavor or brand it is, we call it a
It's all
Coke.
Coke. It's all Coke.
Yes, ma'am.
Love that.
So y'all drink pop, right?
We do. Yeah.
What's your favorite flavor of pop?
Ooh, I am a Dr. Pepper person, which is good because that's Texas, right?
Oh, that's Texas right there.
That was my favorite thing about visiting Texas when I was down there. Oh, Dr. Pepper's from here.
Or you have been. That's good.
Yeah. Yep. I was actually at one of the colleges there. So,
Okay.
yeah, good times.
Which one?
The one that they hold the national officer candidate training at.
Arlington.
Yes.
Arlington State. Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
That's the one. Gonna say it's been a while now. Kind of a blur.
Right.
But yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah, I was down there for a few days and got to know some of the Texas people, and it was cool. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Would definitely come back in a heartbeat. So maybe I'll bring my kids down, see your program.
Come down. They may be disappointed. It'll definitely be different probably from what they experience.
They will be amazed. I guarantee anything different, they're just wowed by. We will definitely keep in touch on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Got anything else scheduled for the day, Sid?
I'm going to kind of take it a little easy this afternoon, I think. Build some fence on a little property I've got around my place here and try not to overheat and enjoy it. Enjoy an afternoon. This is kind of a sabbatical before school gets going back. I enjoy the summer because I get to kind of make my schedule like I want it, even though I go by the school and we do things. We just finished our steer validation for the year, our state steer validation. And so that finalizes today, and we're going to make sure our paperwork's right on that. And then besides that, I'm going to kind of enjoy a little me time and hang out with my family a little bit and go from there.
Oh, well, that makes me happy for you because I know that's hard to come by.
And y'all are
Enjoy
busy
that.
right now, I think, probably up there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I do it to myself. Just like you said, you just plan stuff and you do it all summer. But our summer egg program is getting in the swing of things here. I have green hands coming home from our state camp today as well. So my
Right.
co-teacher
That's
went to
awesome.
get them. So we're good to go.
I'm glad they've got you some help. That's great.
It is. It's really nice. So I make fun of him because he coaches the general livestock team and I coach every other team. But he was not super involved in FFA. And so he knows that it's kind of my thing. So we poke fun at each other. But it is nice to have an extra set of hands, as you know.
You can remind him that jacket fits everybody. So,
I like that. I'm going to use that.
yeah, it's a great equalizer, I think.
It is. It absolutely is. All right, Sid, this has been a pleasure. I will talk to you soon because I'm serious. I might have my kids come down to Texas. That'd be fun.
I appreciate you very much. Thanks for having me. And I encourage you to keep on keeping on.
Thank you,
And
Sid.
keep making a positive difference.
You too. Listeners, for more info on Egg Ed, take a visit to NAAE.org or message Keepin It Rural with specific questions. We would love to address them or bring up new topics, even new guests in upcoming episodes of What a Hoot and all part of the Keepin It Rural network. Thank you. Have a hoot. It's not a party without you there. Follow Our Crazy on Facebook and Instagram, and be sure to check out all episodes and extras at keepinitruralgirls.com.
That's all, folks.